The sneaker market has crashed, and it's not just sneakers. The everything bubble has popped. All the things that we don't want to be down are down, like stocks and crypto. I mean, we're in a bear market, and all the things that we don't want to be up are up, like inflation and interest rates and the prices of things that we need to use every day, like gas and food. And while this all sounds like doom and gloom, the good news is this won't be forever. In a lot of ways, the sneaker market is very similar to the stock market. It ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's down, sometimes it's up, but at the end of the day, it's never going to totally collapse. And right now, with fears of a possible recession and an uncertain future, it makes sense that sneakers are down because people just aren't spending money the way that they used to. I mean, in 2020 and 2021, the demand for everything was sky high. I mean, prices for everything were crazy because people had extra money due to their stimulus checks and other reasons, and they had nowhere to spend it other than on luxury goods. But unfortunately, along with this boom of prices of everything, inflation also skyrocketed, and because of inflation, right now we're on the precipice of a recession, and that means that people are just not going to be spending money the way that they used to. And because of that, I wanted to create today's video to let you all know that it eventually will all work out. Sneaker prices will go back up, and I wanted to give you guys some practical ways to mitigate your losses or hopefully just not lose money at all. Really quick, this video was brought to you by my sock brand Apothecary. I co-founded Apothecary to create your sneakers favorite socks. Our socks are some of the most comfortable socks out there. They're incredibly breathable because of our ISO weave technology and fit your foot great. And on Friday, July 8th at 11 a.m. Eastern time, we're dropping a brand new Old English limited edition collection. This collection comes in 4 different colorways and will be dropping exclusively on apothecary.com. I don't know which color in this collection is my favorite. I like them all. I like the navy, I like the cream, I like the orange, I like the red, I like them all. I can't decide. I like them all. So if you want to grab any or all of the socks from this collection, make sure to be on apothecary.com right at 11 a.m. Eastern time this Friday, July 8th, because these socks will sell out very quickly. So like I said earlier, the sneaker market is a lot like the stock market, and because of that, there's a lot of rules of thumb when it comes to the stock market that also apply to the sneaker market. At the same time though, it's important to keep in mind that the sneaker market is not the stock market. Sneakers, in a lot of ways, are not assets, they're liabilities. And what I mean by that is that an asset is something that you buy or that you have that provides future benefit or future value. For example, a stock or maybe a property or something like that. A liability is anything that you buy to use and will eventually go down in value over time. For example, your cars or your clothing or anything that you buy for fun. Now where it gets interesting is that in some ways, sneakers, if used as an investment vehicle, could be considered an asset, but realistically in 20 years, those sneakers are probably going to crumble and not be worth anything. So in reality, even though you could use them to make money, they are really more of a liability. So knowing that, while sneakers are something that can make you money, at the end of the day, they are still realistically a liability. And while yes, in a lot of ways you can treat the sneaker market like the stock market, in some ways it will act differently because stocks are assets and sneakers are liabilities. For example, if you bought a $100 pair of sneakers, in 20 years that $100 pair of sneakers would probably not be worth $100. In some rare cases it might be, but most likely it wouldn't be. If you took that same $100 and put it into a well-diversified S&P 500 index fund, which I know is nowhere near as exciting as sneakers, there would be a significantly higher chance of that money being worth significantly more than $100 20 years down the road than they would be with a liability like a pair of sneakers that crumbles over time. Now I know I'm kind of going on a tangent, but again, it's important to keep in mind that sneakers are much more of a short-term investment than a long-term investment, and if you're investing for the long term, there are so many better options out there than sneakers. But that's not the purpose of today's video. The purpose of today's video is to find out how you can mitigate your losses on the sneakers that you already own or possibly already invest in. And just like with stocks, the most important thing is to not panic sell or even panic buy. Emotional buying or selling is the worst thing that you can do when it comes to any kind of investment at all, because you're not thinking about the numbers, you're not thinking about the money that you're gonna make or lose, you're just purely thinking on emotions and you're gonna end up regretting it down the road. Now I'm not saying don't sell your sneaker investments or your sneaker collection or don't buy more sneakers, but it's important to not do that emotionally. Think about it, really plan things out before you make any kind of decision like that. Because if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed one day and you decide that sneakers aren't for you and you sell everything when the market's at its lowest point, and then a week down the road the market started to go back up again and you realize you lost $5,000, you're gonna hate yourself for it. So first things first, before you do anything, calm down, think about things logically, take a chill pill, and don't do anything based on emotions. The next thing you wanna do is analyze your risk tolerance, which essentially means determine how much risk you're willing to take. You might have all of your money tied up in sneakers, which is probably not the best idea in the world, but are you able to hold on to those sneakers over the next couple weeks to couple months while the market sort of levels itself out? Are you able to survive for the next couple months, or do you need to sell some of your sneakers to to make ends meet. Because realistically, the sneaker market's gonna come back, just like it always has and just like it always will. Some sneakers might not be worth what they were worth back in 2020 and 2021, and that's because the prices of everything were heavily inflated, but at the end of the day, the sneakers that you have in your collection are probably going to be worth more in 6 months to a year than they are right now. And so, if you're willing to wait things out and hold on to the inventory or pairs of sneakers that you have, it's probably the best move to do so. At the same time though, you want to be able to survive, you want to be able to have your four walls and pay your bills and do all that sort of good stuff, and obviously that stuff is way more important than some sneakers that you have, which you may lose money on, yes, but realistically, being able to survive and support the people that you need to support is absolutely the #1 priority over everything else. Once you've determined your risk tolerance and you know whether you can sit on your sneakers for the next couple months or whether you need to sell some so that you can pay some bills, the next thing to do is create a plan. Now this will obviously vary from person to person. If you're sitting on your sneakers, great, that's the plan, sit on your shoes. If you have to sell some sneakers, find the best place to sell them so that you get the most money for the sneakers. Yes, in a lot of cases you may end up losing money and that sucks, but at the end of the day, again, providing for yourself and for your family is more important than any pairs of sneakers unless you need those sneakers to survive. So if you do end up needing to sell some sneakers, make sure that you're doing your research and finding out where you can get the most money for your sneakers, whether that's eBay or GOAT or StockX or Facebook Marketplace or selling to a friend. It's very important to do your research so you can determine how much money you can bring in from each pair of sneakers, where to get the best price, and how many pairs of sneakers you need to sell to hit that goal of how much money you need to survive. One of the most important things you can do throughout this entire process is think long term. Don't think about tomorrow, don't think about the week after that, think long term, because if you just make decisions based on what's going to happen tomorrow, you're going to make the wrong decision. When it comes to sneakers, an example of thinking long term is, okay, I have to sell some of the sneakers in my collection. I should try and hold on to some of the sneakers that I think will maintain their value over the next couple months and maybe even be worth more down the road, for example, OG colorways or limited collaborations, and I can sell some of the sneakers that may not be worth anything in the future. Now, obviously, just like stocks, you never know what's going to happen with the market, and honestly, when it comes to sneakers, it's really hard to determine which sneakers will be worth more in the future and which one won't be, but you definitely need to do your research so you can make educated decisions on which shoes you sell and which ones you keep. Because honestly, right now, it's just not a great time to sell sneakers. You're not going to make the money that you once did. It's going to be harder to sell shoes. You're not going to sell as fast. And things just aren't as easy as they were like 3 months ago. But let's say, hey, you're fine. You didn't invest in any sneakers. You just have your collection. You don't need to sell any sneakers to survive. You're good to go. Maybe you even have some extra income coming in. What should you do? Well, this is probably a question for a different video, maybe on a different channel, because I'm not a finance channel at all. But what I would say is that if you're a sneaker collector and you have a bunch of disposable income, now's not a bad time to buy sneakers if you want to add to your collection. I probably wouldn't invest in sneakers, well, really ever, but that's just me personally. But you could use this time to buy those sneakers that you weren't able to grab 6 months ago because they were just too expensive. In fact, what I'm doing right now personally is I'm investing in assets while assets are cheap. I'm buying a ton of S&P 500 index funds, buying as many as possible because the market's down and it's gonna go back up. And I'm just not buying liabilities. I'm not buying sneakers, I'm not buying cars, I'm not buying stuff that I don't need because I'd rather have an emergency fund and be able to invest in things that will make me money in the future than waste money now while everything's cheap. So while yes, I know this is a sneaker channel and this video is about the sneaker market, but it's important to look at the whole picture, look at everything that's going on in the world and make decisions based on your entire life rather than just on sneakers. Don't worry about sneakers. Sneakers just aren't the end all be all. Sell the sneakers that you need to sell to survive because obviously survival is way more important than a stupid pair of sneakers. Keep the sneakers that you want to keep because you can keep them. Do whatever you think is best for you. But I think for me right now, I've cut down on buying sneakers a lot. That doesn't mean that I'm not buying sneakers at all. Obviously, I'm buying sneakers for the channel, and then if there's a crazy release that I've been looking forward to for months, I'll grab it, but I'm just not spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on sneakers right now. So when it comes to the sneaker market, keep those points that I talked about in mind. Don't panic sell, don't panic buy. Analyze your risk tolerance so you can determine how many sneakers you need to sell, if you need to sell any sneakers. Make a plan, that's the most important thing. Plan out what you're gonna do so you don't do anything stupid. Think long term, and then invest in assets if you have the money. And again, don't worry, the sneaker market will come back. It might take time, it might take 6 months to a year, but it'll come back. Some sneakers might not be worth as much as they used to be worth, but overall, the sneaker market will come back because the recession will end or whatever is happening will end and people will start having money again and people will start buying sneakers again. It's all gonna be fine when it comes to sneakers. It's all gonna be good. The sneaker market will ebb and flow. That's what's gonna happen forever, and that's just how things go. But that pretty much wraps up the entire video for today. Now, I would love to know your thoughts on this crazy sneaker market and what your plans are. So make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Once again, don't forget to check out the Apothecary Old English collection dropping this Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on apothecary.com. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one. you.